Radiohead are no strangers to doing quirky things with their album packaging.
What the fuck is this shit?
There's perhaps no example more infamous than the legendary hidden booklet you can find in certain CD copies of Kid A. Now you're not gonna find this in the regular art booklet.
No.
In fact, it's hidden somewhere else entirely different. Oh, baby. To find what I'm talking about, you'll have to disassemble the front cover of the case and then take the CD out. Then you'll have to finagle your way around carefully taking this plastic cover off. This can be a huge pain in the ass because it doesn't come off too easily. Perhaps there's an easier way around doing this, but I don't know of the preferred methods, unfortunately. There we go. So we finally got the plastic off, and as you can see, there's nothing here. So, I guess that means we're fucked. And the video should just end here, right?
Wrong!
If you find yourself in this predicament, what you're going to want to do is simply go back to the shelf, grab your other copy of Kid A, and repeat the same steps as before. After you've done that, you should finally have access to Kid A's elusive hidden booklet. Now let's take a closer look into it. The booklet is about 12 pages long, and as you can see, it features some additional artwork as well as a shit ton of words that resemble the sort of stream of consciousness style writing you could find on the band's website at the time. What's interesting about this though is that it actually contains fragments of lyrics for the songs Kid A, Optimistic, In Limbo, and Idiotech. These were basically the only official lyrics you could find for these at the time without having to look through the band's website. And even then, that didn't even cover all the lyrics thoroughly. You've probably noticed that the booklet only covered 4 out of the 10 songs off of Kid A, and especially with those only containing partial lyrics, there's still at least around 10 million other words here. So what gives? Well, what's especially cool about this booklet is that not only does it contain lyrics for songs off of Kid A, but also songs we wouldn't hear until years later from Amnesiac and Hail to the Thief. These songs being You and Whose Army, Like Spinning Plates, Myxomatosis, Life in a Glass House, I Will, Knives Out, Packed Like Sardines, and Where I End and You Begin. In addition to all those, we also have lyrics for songs that didn't appear on either of those albums, some never being released at all. The first of these would be Ed's Scary Song, a track which initially premiered on one of the band's live streams from back in the early aughts. Don't take this song title for granted either. I can safely assure you that it's not for the faint of heart. Then there's also If You Say the Word and Follow Me Around, songs which wouldn't get released officially until the release of Kid Amnesia back in 2021. Then there's this last song titled Whatever Happens, which had never been released before. The only evidence we have of its existence as a written song is from this section of the band's website from 2004, which contains lyrics and chords for it, but no audio to indicate how exactly it's played. Back in the day, members of the At Ease forum recorded their own takes of the song. I talked about this already in my Iceberg video, but if you have any of those old fan interpretations of the song archived, please let me know in the comments. Lastly, I'd like to mention the song Golden Handshake. It's actually unknown whether this was actually written as a song or just a set of lyrics. There's a page dedicated to it on the Radiohead website from around this time titled Clever Fucker, on top of it also having a dedicated page in Fear Stalks the Land. Though unlike Whatever Happens, we have no chords available to go along with these lyrics, so it's a bit up in the air. Still, I thought it was worth mentioning anyways. As for the rest of what's in here, it's just more of that stream of consciousness writing that has no relation to any other songs to my knowledge. Though I do have to admit it's a bit fun reading through all of this. Hymns numbered on a board. The names have changed. The innocenti have been used to thicken the soupy. The soupy can be used to feed the troupies from tin cans. Honey from the honey bears. Nervous messed up marionettes. Food is food and sex is sex. I've had my fill, I want to defect. Take the money and then run. 1 pixel on a screen. Now, is it worth tracking down a CD copy of Kid A just to have this booklet for yourself? Well, that entirely depends on the type of person you are, and if you care about collecting these sorts of things in the first place. Though I'd imagine if you're this far in a video about a hidden booklet, it isn't too unlikely that you'd want one if you don't have it already. Just know in advance that the booklet was limited only to initial pressings of the CD. I try to find an estimated number for how many in total were produced, even going as far about asking some prestige Radiohead collectors, but to no avail. Thankfully, CD copies of Kid A are bountiful, and if you buy used, it shouldn't put you down more than $10 at the very most. Occasionally listings on eBay do prop up that advertise containing the hidden booklet, but usually the price markup tends to be more than it's honestly worth, so I recommend avoiding that option if you can. Despite its limited run, finding the hidden booklet isn't too uncommon. There's plenty of secrets that can be found on other Radiohead CDs, as well as some really cool special editions I'd like to talk about someday. Perhaps later down the line I'll make a video that's specifically dedicated to just that. I want to share one more Easter egg I just discovered today from the OK Computer CD that I find hilarious. When you open up the jewel case and look at the right spine just beneath where the disc is, you can find text that reads as follows. I like you. You are a wonderful person. I'm full of enthusiasm. I'm going places. I'll be happy to help you. I am an important person. Would you like to come home with me? As you can tell, that isn't particularly funny. What is funny though, is that Weezer released the Green Album in 2001. But also, if you look at the same location on the Green Album CD case where the text is on OK Computers, you can also find a string of text that reads as follows. No. It is utterly baffling for me to comprehend the fact that Radiohead is so virgin, they can't even get a date with the fucking Green Album. Anyways, there's a few more things I want to cover in this video that I didn't end up getting into in the iceberg video. Somehow, I forgot to talk about the hidden track at the end of Kid A, despite the fact that obese Ben Shapiro literally told me to. Back in the days of CDs, artists used to hide extra audio usually by having it follow an extended period of silence after the last song of the album. It was popularized by Nirvana with Nevermind, which had a 10-minute gap of silence between the ending of Something in the Way up until Endless Nameless just comes in out of nowhere. Although, my personal favorite example would be from Deftones' Around the Fur. The closing song MX ends after 4 minutes and 49 seconds. However, considering that there's still 32.5 more minutes of song here, you know they're being sneaky. Following the ending of MX, there's 14 minutes and 42 seconds of silence, followed by a 25-second Bond rip, which is then followed by another 12 minutes and 39 seconds of silence, until we finally get to the hidden track. The worst part about these fucking things though is that if you leave it running and forget about it, it's guaranteed to scare the fucking shit out of you. Just now, while I was writing this fucking script, I forgot I had MX playing on Spotify, and I damn near fucking sharded everywhere when that damn ass Bond rip started playing. Go ahead and laugh it up, tough guy. If you're in my fucking shoes minding your goddamn business, and then this shit just started playing out of nowhere, you'd be fucking scared too. Thankfully, Radiohead were nowhere near as ridiculous when it came to the hidden track after motion picture soundtrack. It plays after a minute of silence upon the song ending. The hidden song itself is pretty short too, with it mainly just being an ambient swell. I like it a whole lot though. Feels like a nice post-credits for the album, as if the protagonist is transcending after saying they'll see you in the next life and... God fucking damn it! If you've been a Radiohead fan for long enough, you might have heard this song been referred to as Gen Children before. This is due in part to how the album was leaked onto sites like Napster before its release. Each track lacked their proper names, instead being referred to as Gen Children 1 or Gen Children 2, with the Gen Children bit being named after the user who initially uploaded the album. It seemed to have stuck over the years, at least up until the band would separate the two songs on streaming services, and gave it the official title of Untitled. Although I personally prefer the title of Gen Children, I think it just fits really well with the rest of Kid A. Now to cap things off, there's one last thing I want to take a look at in this video that I ended up skipping over in my iceberg video. 9/11. Look guys, I'm sorry. I didn't talk about 9/11. Can you fucking blame me? Look, I can go into my whole spiel about how much suffering I went through working on that stupid iceberg video. But honestly, I'd rather spare you your time. Just know that if I ever had to rate it on a scale of 1 to 10, the number would probably end up somewhere between 9 and 11. The Kid A predicted 9/11 conspiracy originates from a book written by Chuck Klosterman, titled Killing Yourself to Live. In the book, Chuck goes into extensive detail on how the sequencing of Kid A reflects the events which took place throughout the morning of September 11th. Since I don't own a copy of the book myself, I'm going off of a snippet from the blog Flaming Pablum, so kudos to them for sharing this. Anyways, the snippet reads as follows. The first song on Kid A paints the Manhattan skyline at 8 a.m. on a Tuesday morning. The song is titled Everything in Its Right Place. People woke up that day sucking on a lemon, because that's what life normally feels like on the Manhattan subway. The city is a beautiful, sour, sarcastic place. We soon move on to Song 2, which is the title track. The term Kid A is York's moniker for the first cloned human, which he only half-jokingly suspects may already exist. The consciously misguided message is this: science is the answer, technology solves everything, because technology is invulnerable. That is what almost everyone in America thought around 8:30 a.m. But something happens 3.5 minutes into Kid A. It suddenly doesn't feel right, and you don't exactly know why. This is followed by track 3, the national anthem. This is when the first plane slams into the North Tower at 470 miles per hour. The national anthem sounds a bit like a morphine song. It's a completely different direction from the first 2 songs on Kid A, and it's confusing. It's chaotic. What's going on? The lyrics ask. What's going on? It gets crazier and crazier, until the second plane hits the second tower at 9:03 a.m. in reality and 3 minutes and 42 seconds in the song. For a moment, things are somber, but then it gets more anarchic. Reader's note: you might want to consider playing Kid A right about now, since I'm not always so good at explaining shit like this. Which leads to track 4, How to Disappear Completely. This is the point where it feels like the world is possibly ending. People try to convince themselves that they are not here. People keep repeating, this isn't happening. People are floating, read, falling to the earth. We are told of strobe lights and blown speakers. There are fireworks and hurricanes. This is a song about being burned alive and jumping out of windows. And this is a song about having to watch those things happen. And it's followed by an instrumental piece without melody, Tree Fingers. Because what can you say when skyscrapers collapse? All you can do is stare at them with your hand over your mouth. Now guys, this obviously does not mean that Radiohead had any involvement in 9/11, nor is Chuck Klosterman even going as far as to imply that. Frankly, to even make such a claim would be nothing short of completely ridiculous. But look, hear me the fuck out. Later on in the Flaming Pablum blog post, author Alex Smith goes on to write about a particular image from the Kid A art booklet, stating that there is a vague but discernible image of 2 oblong rectangular blocks. One sports an antenna-like spire from its top, while the other is seemingly hemorrhaging a swath of fiery oranges and reds, as if it either ablaze or bleeding. To my mind, this image looks eerily similar to the Twin Towers. Now if you want to consider this a stretch, at least with this particular image, I wouldn't blame you. Even I struggle to see anything but a vague idea of what he means, and I'm fully engrossed in this conspiracy shit right now. Despite that, the concept of peering into the album artwork in search of any premonitions of 9/11 isn't actually entirely misguided. In fact, it's something that Tom has even spoken out about before. In an interview for the British Christian magazine called The Third Way, Tom was asked about his songs taken upon unintended meanings, to which he replied, "Sometimes really powerful music can presage things that then happen. Like any art form, there's that element of seeing into the future, no matter how dimly and naively. I've had it with artwork as well. Amnesiac came out in the summer of 2001, and almost every other image on that album is 2 towers collapsing. That freaked us out a bit. And when you go through the Amnesiac artwork, yeah, it isn't hard to see why they were freaked out over the whole ordeal. Perhaps the most chilling thing I've come across would be from the Test Specimens comic series that the band featured on their website. In episode 15 of the comic, there's a panel that portrays the modified bears as a news anchor, with text that reads hidden code of symbols and numbers implanted in news items on CNN. If you look in the speech bubble to the right of the bear, you can clearly see 9/11 written between the pyramids. Something else that really got me too was this section from the Fear Stalks the Land book called Bomb on the Plain. People, with novels, comforting screaming babies, staring straight ahead. In the panic, the stewardess is desperate. She is shouting at those standing, those who demand their extra inches of space, first in the queue. Packed, sardines, with a bomb. The babies maintain their crying vigil. The upper class take comfort in their space, their upgrade, in the event of anything untoward. They will proceed to the nearest exit in a dignified fashion. Neatly designed hand luggage, they hold their bags up and inch forward. Holiday makers at the end of the trip, with duty free, remember their experiences as best as they can. Make peace with the world before taking your seat on this last flight out of New York this evening. There is a bomb on the plane. Children and families first, please. Excuse me, have I got that window seat I asked for? Well, guys, this is obviously undeniable evidence that Radiohead were the sole perpetrators behind the World Trade Center bombings. And to think, I thought it was Bush this whole time. It just makes you sick, doesn't it? You think you like a band, then you go and get to know them a little bit, and then you find out that they caused 9/11. Well, I for one ain't gonna put up with this. No one does 9/11 and gets away with it. Not on my watch, buddy. The truth is out there, and now everyone knows.